My friend group's group chat felt like a family until Madison started screenshotting my private DMs and sharing them with the entire grade. I spent 3 weeks collecting every message, every call-out, every threat. The afternoon I walked into the school counselor's office with my phone, Madison's whole reign collapsed in about 4 hours. The moment I realized our friend group wasn't a friend group. It was a monarchy, and Madison was the queen who never let anyone leave. I know that sounds dramatic, but here's what I actually mean. I mean that one Thursday in October, I was sitting in Miss Hernandez's 7th period English class, trying to look like I was annotating The Outsiders, when really I was reading a message that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. The message was a screenshot of my own words. Words I had typed in a private DM to my friend Cece. My actual, real, since 3rd grade friend Cece. At 10:30 the previous night. The screenshot was posted in a group chat called The Main Event. 22 members. Basically the entire 7th grade social ecosystem of Lakeview Middle School. All of them watching. Act 1. Stuck. Let me back up. Because you need to understand how I ended up in that group chat to begin with. My name is Jade. I am 14 years old. I wear the same 3 hoodies on rotation. I read too fast and talk too slow. And up until the beginning of that school year, my social life was basically just me and Cece eating lunch by the library windows and debating which Percy Jackson character would survive a real apocalypse. That was my whole thing. I was not someone people noticed, and I had mostly made peace with that. Then September happened. Cece got close with a girl named Madison during the first week of school. They were lab partners in Mr. Conquo's science class and apparently bonded over a failed baking soda volcano. And suddenly Cece was getting added to group chats and going to after-school hangouts and sitting at a different lunch table. The one in the center of the cafeteria, under the good light. She kept saying, "Jade, you have to come meet everyone. Madison is so fun. You'll love her." So I went, because Cece is my person, and where she goes, I follow. At least, that's what I told myself. Madison was. Okay, she was magnetic. I'll give her that. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. She remembered your dog's name and your older brother's college and what your mom did for work. She complimented your earrings and your vocabulary in the same breath. By the end of the first lunch, she had me added to 2 separate group chats, and I felt like I'd been initiated into something real. The first group chat was called Lunch Squad. Normal. The second one was called The Main Event. That second one should have been my first warning. For the first few weeks, the main event was fine. Memes. Inside jokes. Someone sharing a video of a dog running into a screen door. Normal stuff. But then, sometime in late September, the vibe shifted. I can't point to the exact moment. It was gradual, the way water gets cold in a pool when you've been in it too long. You don't notice until you're already shivering. Madison started posting things like, "Did anyone else see that Priya followed Tyler's ex?" Then a pause. Then, "That's weird, right?" And everyone would pile on. Or she'd say, "I'm not trying to be messy, but someone in this chat was sitting with the drama kids at lunch today and didn't say anything." And there would be a scramble. Everyone trying to prove it wasn't them. Laughing along so they wouldn't be the next target. I watched it from the edges. I didn't pile on, but I also didn't say anything. That's the part I'm not proud of. By early October, the main event had become something I can only describe as a surveillance system with good means. Madison tracked who you followed on Instagram. She noticed if you were seen talking to someone she didn't like. She'd post interesting with 0 context, and the whole chat would spiral trying to figure out what she meant. Once, she posted a screenshot of someone's reel and said it was giving try-hard energy, the person. A girl named Destiny. Left the chat and didn't come back to school for 2 days. I started keeping my phone face down during lunch. Act 2, the encounter. Here is the part of the story I did not expect. The part that didn't come from Madison or the group chat or Cece or anyone at Lakeview Middle School. It came from a girl at the public library. I know. Just stay with me. The Saturday after the Destiny incident, I went to the public library on Elm Street to print something for Miss Hernandez's class. Our home printer was out of ink, which is the most reliable fact of being in middle school. I was sitting at one of the computers near the back, waiting for my document, and I was also scrolling through the main event on my phone, because I could not stop checking, even though checking it always made me feel worse. Classic. The girl sitting next to me was maybe 16 or 17. Yellow highlighter behind her ear. Library copy of a book with a cracked spine. Doing homework, very unbothered, very not my business. I wasn't paying attention to her. Then she said, not to me, just to the air in front of her, "I hate reading things that make me feel smaller." I looked up. She was frowning at her book. She didn't look at me. Like, why do I keep reading it if it makes me feel bad every single time? She closed the book, looked at the cover, sighed. Just a habit, I guess. Then she opened it again. She was clearly talking about the book. 100% talking about the book. She didn't even know I was there. But I sat with my phone in my hand, the main event still open on my screen, and something in my chest did this slow, quiet rearranging. Why do I keep reading it if it makes me feel bad every single time? Act 3. The conversation. I didn't say anything to her. I printed my document, put my phone in my jacket pocket, and rode my bike home. But I kept turning that sentence over the whole way back. The way you press your tongue against a sore tooth. Not because it was wise or deep. She was just talking about a book. But it landed somewhere true. I had been checking the main event approximately 40 times a day. When I woke up, under my desk during Mr. Okonkwo's science notes, in the bathroom between classes to make sure my name hadn't come up while I wasn't looking. Every time I opened it, something tightened in my shoulders. Every time I closed it, I felt guilty. Like I'd missed something. Like absence from the chat meant I was falling behind in some game I hadn't agreed to play. That Saturday night, I sat on my bed and made myself actually look at what I was doing. I scrolled back through 2 weeks of the main event. And when I read it all at once, instead of in anxious little bites, it looked different. It looked like a record. Person called out on Monday. Different person called out Wednesday. Someone's post screenshotted and mocked on Friday. Someone's outside friendship flagged as suspicious on Sunday. Over and over. A rotation. Like Madison was farming for drama the way you farm crops in a video game. Systematic. Almost boring. Once you saw the pattern, I noticed something else. My own messages. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I didn't even notice that. Okay, but did she really? I had been participating. Not in the worst of it, but enough. I had laughed at the right moments. I had not defended destiny. I had sent a lol same. When Madison posted something mean about a girl named Bree, who just existed and was apparently committing the crime of wearing a certain brand of sneakers, I put my phone down on the bed and stared at my ceiling for a while. The following Monday, I made a decision. I wasn't going to leave the chat yet. Not because I was scared, although I was a little scared, but because something had shifted in how I was watching it. Instead of reading it to stay safe, I started reading it to document it. I started screenshotting things, not to use them as weapons, just to have them, to look at them outside the context of the chat, to see the pattern clearly instead of being inside it. I also started doing something else, something I hadn't planned. I had noticed that Madison's power ran on speed. She'd post something, people would react before they had time to think, and by the time anyone felt weird about it, the moment had moved on. So I started replying slowly, deliberately. When she posted interesting, with no context, instead of scrambling, I waited a full day and then said nothing. When she asked, did anyone notice Bree's thing? I typed back, what thing? And then waited again. It was small, it wasn't heroic. But a few other people started doing the same thing. The pile-ons got quieter. The scrambles got shorter. I don't think anyone connected it to me, but I could feel the air in the chat changing, the way a room feels different when one person in it is paying a different kind of attention. I was building something. I just didn't know what yet. And that's when the DM thing happened. I had texted CC privately. Just us. Tuesday night after homework. I said something like, I've been feeling kind of weird about the group chat lately. Some of it is getting mean, and I don't love being part of it. That was the whole thing. 6 sentences? Pretty mild. Just me being honest with my actual best friend in what I believed was a private conversation. Wednesday morning. 7th period. Miss Hernandez's English class. The outsiders on my desk. The screenshot had a caption. Interesting that some people act fine in the chat, but talk behind everyone's back privately lol. No name attached. Madison didn't name me directly. She didn't have to. Cece knew. I knew. Anyone paying attention knew. That's how it worked. Just enough deniability to avoid getting caught, just enough clarity to land the hit. I sat in that plastic chair and I did not cry, which surprised me, because I thought I would. Instead, I felt something go very still inside me, like the moment before a storm when all the birds stop. Miss Hernandez was talking about theme and belonging, and I was not listening at all. After class, I went to the bathroom on the 2nd floor. The one nobody uses because it's next to the gym storage closet and smells like old rubber. I sat on the radiator by the window. I opened my screenshots folder. 11 days. 47 images. And now I had a 48th. I thought about the girl in the library. Why do I keep reading it if it makes me feel bad every single time? I thought, I'm not going to keep reading it. But first I was going to do something with what I already had. Something more than hand it off and walk away. I want to be really clear. I was not planning some big dramatic takedown. I wasn't thinking about Madison's reputation or making her cry in front of everyone. I was thinking about Destiny, who didn't come back to school for 2 days, about Bree and her sneakers, about the lol same I typed when I didn't even feel that way. About 6 honest sentences I sent to my best friend in what I thought was a safe space. I had 48 screenshots and a plan that was only half formed. But I had one advantage Madison didn't know about. I had been paying attention for 11 days before she decided to come for me. She thought she caught me off guard. She didn't. I walked to the school counselor's office. Her name is Miss Patrice Odom. She has a small cactus on her desk named Gerald. She introduced him the first time I came to her office, in 6th grade, when a boy in my math class kept erasing my answers during partner work. Gerald doesn't judge, she'd said. He just survives. She'd said it like a joke, but I remembered it. She had remembered my name when I walked in that day. She remembered it this time too. "Jade," she said. "Come in." "What's going on?" I sat down in the regular chair across from her desk, not the beanbag. This felt like a regular chair situation. And then, sitting there, looking at Gerald on the corner of her desk, I felt it. The thing I hadn't let myself feel in the bathroom. My throat got tight. My hands were colder than they should have been. I had been so focused on what to do that I hadn't let myself think about what it meant to be doing it. I was about to hand over evidence of conversations that involved 22 people. People who hadn't come for me specifically. People who were mostly just scared, the same way I was scared. I thought about whether I was any different from Madison, screenshotting things and deciding what to do with them. And then I thought about destiny. 2 days. A 12-year-old who didn't come to school for 2 days because of a burial post. I put my phone on her desk. I said, "I have some screenshots I want to show you. I'm not sure what you can do about them, but I think someone should see them who isn't 14. Miss Odom didn't say anything dramatic. She pulled the phone toward her and started reading. She scrolled for maybe 5 minutes. She didn't gasp. But I watched her jaw get tighter. I watched her stop once, go back, read something again. She set the phone down and picked up her pencil. "Can you forward these to the school counseling email?" "Yeah," I said. She nodded slowly. "This is going to involve the principal, and probably some parents." "Are you ready for that?" I thought about it. "For real?" I said, "I think so, but I want to be specific. The screenshot of my private DM is the one that matters most to me. That one is different from the rest." She looked at me steadily. "That one matters to me too," she said. "That's a privacy violation. That's something we can act on clearly," "Okay," I said. Then she said, I had a Gerald before Gerald." She glanced at the cactus, a little succulent named Dave. "Somebody in 3rd period knocked him off the desk and didn't tell me. I came in and found him on the floor. I didn't know what to say. I'm telling you that because sometimes things that look sturdy still need someone to notice when they've fallen." She tapped my phone once, lightly. "You noticed. That's not nothing." I forwarded her the screenshots. All 48. Then she said something I hadn't expected. "Before I bring this to the principal, I want you to go back to that chat today. Not to post anything. Just watch. If Madison says anything directly about you between now and the end of the school day, screenshot it and text it to the counseling line." She wrote the number on a sticky note. I want a current record, not just historical. That was something I could do. I went back to class. I kept my phone on my desk, face up, for the first time in weeks. At 1:15, Madison posted in the main event. Some people just can't handle being in a real group chat, I guess. Too much honesty for them, lol. No name. Didn't need one. I screenshotted it. I texted it to the number on the sticky note. 49 images, Act 4, the afternoon. What happened next? I was present for some of and absent for the rest. Here's what I can tell you directly. At 2:10, I was called out of 6th period to wait in the front office. Not in trouble. Miss Odom had asked them to keep me somewhere quiet while things moved. I sat in a plastic chair next to the attendance window. The secretary, Mrs. Gaines, offered me a butterscotch candy from a bowl on her desk. I took it. At 2:30, I heard Madison's voice in the hallway outside the principal's office. I couldn't hear words, just tone, high and a little too bright, the way she sounded when she was performing confidence. At 2:41, the tone changed. I don't know exactly what Miss Odom showed her, or how the principal framed it, or what moment specifically made Madison's voice drop, but it dropped. I heard that. Quiet and then quieter. The chat went silent at 2:47. I know because I was checking, not anxiously. For the first time, not anxiously. I was watching the way you watch something that's winding down. At 3:05, my mom arrived. Miss Odom had called her too, to loop her in, which I had known was coming and had still not fully prepared for. My mom sat down next to me, looked at my face, and didn't say anything for a second. Then she said, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I think so. You did this." She meant the screenshots. The forwarding. "Coming here." "Yeah." She didn't make a speech about it. She just nodded slowly, the way she does when she's thinking more than she's saying. Miss Odom came out at 3:20 and told us that Madison and her parents would be meeting with the principal about the privacy violation specifically, and that a broader message about digital citizenship would go out to all parents without naming names. Cece's parents had also been contacted. Miss Odom looked at me and said, "You did the right thing, and I want you to know. What you added today, the 115 message, that one mattered. It showed a pattern that was still active, not just historical. That made a real difference to what we were able to document. That was the part I had done, not just handed something over and walked away. I had been the one watching, the one who knew where to look, the one who captured it while it was still happening." At 4 o'clock, Madison left the group chat. Here's what I was not present for, and I want to be honest about that. I don't know exactly what Madison said in that room with the principal. I don't know if she cried or got defensive or went silent. Cece told me later that Madison's mom had been the one to say, "That's a privacy violation, Maddie. I told you," and that Madison had said nothing back. But I can't verify that. I'm just telling you what I heard. What I can tell you is what happened in the main event after 4 o'clock. A few people posted lol. What happened? Someone sent a question mark. Then nothing. The chat that had run the social lives of 22 7th graders for 6 weeks just stopped, the way a TV show gets canceled without a finale. Not with a confrontation, not with an announcement. It just ran out of air. By the next morning, it was a ghost. Madison didn't come to lunch Thursday or Friday. The Monday after, she was back, sitting in her usual seat. Things were different in a quiet, specific way that I can't fully describe. The center of cafeteria table redistributed itself. Some people drifted. Some stayed. Nobody made an announcement. The system didn't collapse dramatically. It just became a lot smaller. And with Madison quieter, everyone could see exactly how small it had always been. I sat with Cece by the library windows. She didn't apologize right away. I need to say something about Cece here, because she's not just a plot point in this story, even though that's how I've been telling it. Cece is the person who, in 4th grade, noticed I was upset before I knew I was upset and said nothing about it, just handed me half her sandwich and changed the subject. She is the person who, when I failed my first test at Lakeview Middle School, texted me at 11 p.m. with a list of every famous person who ever failed something important, 3 of whom I'm pretty sure she made up. She is genuinely, specifically funny. Not funny for a friend. Funny, but the kind of funny that makes teachers have to look away because they're not supposed to laugh. She also showed Madison my private message. I don't know if she meant for it to go the way it did. I think she told herself it was fine and found out she was wrong. That's a different kind of bad than malicious, but it's still bad. And she knew it. She apologized on Wednesday in the hall between 2nd and 3rd period. She caught up to me and said, very quietly, "I'm really sorry I showed her that. I thought she wouldn't. I don't know. I'm sorry." She looked like she'd been carrying it for days. I looked at her. I said, "I know. Not forgiveness exactly. Not yet. But a door left open instead of closed. Here is the part that sits heavy. I lost 3 weeks I can't get back. 3 weeks of checking my phone with my shoulders up around my ears. 3 weeks of typing things I didn't mean to seem like I was in step with everyone else. 3 weeks of not defending Destiny or Bree. The system came down. But what I did inside it doesn't come down with it. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. Madison's grip on that chat was already loosening before I walked into Miss Odom's office. Destiny had left. People were getting slower to respond. The pile-ons were getting shorter. It's possible that in another 2 weeks, the main event would have faded on its own. But Destiny had already missed 2 days of school. Bree had already felt whatever she felt seeing her sneakers mocked in a group chat with 22 people in it. And I had already typed lol same about a girl I had no problem with and sent it and let it sit there. The difference between me doing something and doing nothing isn't that Madison fell. It's that she was stopped while she was still going. That's the argument I make to myself. I don't always find it convincing, but I keep making it. That Saturday, after everything settled, I went back to the library to return a book I'd had out too long. Same computer near the back. The yellow highlighter girl wasn't there? Obviously. Just a regular library afternoon. Someone's kid drawing at the low table in the corner. Somebody's backpack taking up an entire chair. I sat down. I opened my phone. I went to the main event. Still there. Still 22 members, technically. Nobody had said anything in 4 days. I looked at it for a second. This thing that had felt 6 weeks ago like the center of everything. This group chat I had checked 40 times a day. This place I had performed a version of myself I didn't recognize. It looked like nothing. It looked like a group chat. I pressed leave group. No announcement. No screenshot. No caption. I put my phone in my jacket pocket. I checked out one more book. I rode my bike home. Here's the thing about monarchies. They only work because everyone agrees to follow the rules. The second you stop agreeing, the whole thing gets a lot smaller. And if one more person in that chat had said something earlier, if I had said something earlier, Destiny might not have missed 2 days of school. That's the part I'm still sitting with. Not the screenshots or the counselor's office or the 247 timestamp, the weeks before all of that. The times I had the thought and swallowed it. I keep thinking about Gerald the cactus on Miss Odom's desk. He just survives, she said. I want to do more than survive. I'm still figuring out what that looks like. But I know what it doesn't look like, and that's not nothing.